Good morning, one and all. I welcome you all to this live training session of AWS Associate Level. Myself, Satya, I will be the instructor for this class. I'm happy that you have found this training content here, and also you may easily view all my technical training videos in this website. Please subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so, and also click the notification button to receive the future updates. Also note, in the description below, you will find the download links to download the lab exercises that we perform on the live session. So this lab session has got step-by-step instructions for you to perform the lab exercises. We are on day 3. There are many important topics lined up for today's class. So the agenda for today's class is displayed on your screen. So the first topic for today is AWS Management Console. So what is all about AWS Management Console? AWS Management Console is a web application for managing AWS services. The console homepage is what you see when you first log into your AWS account. It is a browser-based GUI for AWS, aids users in managing their cloud computing, cloud storage, and other AWS-based services. What do you mean by cloud computing? The virtual machine, what we have created in the previous session, that is what the cloud computing. What is cloud storage? You remember we have added 30 GB and additional 20 GB hard disk. That is what the storage. Of course, there are several other types of storage services are available. This is one among them. And we have about 200 plus services available. Yes, we can access all these services through this AWS Management Console. The console homepage, which contains all user account related information and billing, also provides access to more than 200 AWS services. It helps you to build your cloud-based applications in any AWS cloud centers throughout the world. So when we say cloud data centers, AWS data centers, we are referring to the availability zones. And when we say any part of the world, that means the regions, we are referring to regions. So apart from AWS Management Console, what we access through our computer, laptop, or desktop, there is one more way we can access this AWS Management Console. Yes, we can download the mobile app. It's an either Android or iOS-based software that we can download from our Play Store and install the software. This is how the look of the software, Android software. So you can monitor all the services, most of the services that you have created in your account. That means you need not to be sticked onto your desk all the time to check the services, monitor the services. You can move away from your desk and use your handheld devices, mobile or tablet, to monitor the services like EC2 instances, the virtual machines, what we create. The health status of these virtual machines. What is the health status? Whether the hard disk storage space is going low or the memory RAM size is going low. Is the virtual machine getting overheated? There are several other things. Are there any notification alerts are coming up? All these things, alert, you will get it on your handheld devices. Apart from that, you can also monitor IAM, that is Identity and Access Management. Further, we have VPC, that is Virtual Private Cloud, RDS, Relational Database Service, S3 stands for Simple Storage Service, Route 53, it is the Amazon's DNS, that is Domain Name System, and also CloudWatch. There are many other services that we can monitor. Okay, in the future classes, we will be learning all about these services. We will have end-to-end lab exercises that we will be performing in the upcoming classes. This is all about the AWS console app on your mobile. Further, let's understand the main features that are available in AWS Management Console. On the screen, you can see I had posted the screenshot of the AWS Management Console. Here, there are so many tabs that are circled, that are highlighted. Instead of looking into this screenshot that I have enclosed, let's directly get into our AWS Management Console and check, explore the features, the options available. All right. So friends, this is the home screen, the console, also called AWS Management Console. What we see the moment we log into our AWS account. Onto the extreme left, do you see the AWS icon? Yes, this is the home tab. So every time you click on this logo, AWS logo, it is a clickable button. So each time you click on this button, you will be taken back to the home screen, regardless of the services that you are using. What do you mean by services? Let us say you're at EC2 instance, you are creating a virtual machine, and for whatever is the reason, you will click on this button, it will take you back here. Okay, so for the next one is the services. The second button is the services button, which gives you access to all of the services that we were talking about, that we were referring about, 200 and odd services. Okay, so you can click on these services, you can navigate, you can scroll up and down, you can select a specific service of your choice. So since we are still in the beginning classes, we always look into the compute service. And the compute EC2, that is Elastic Compute Cloud, it is the virtual servers of AWS. This is what we are using. Apart from that, we also have several other services that we can access. Okay, so these services, whatever the services, 200 odd services that are visible here, we can access it in many ways. Number one, you can click on services. You can scroll down all the way to compute, for example, and I will handpick EC2. This is way one. Okay, so now you can see we have the EC2 service that has been launched. And as I was referring to, the moment you click on to the AWS logo, there is a home button. It will take you back to the home page, that is the AWS Management Console. This is how it works. So now we have understood how to select a particular service, how to opt for a particular service. There is another method. This is the third feature available, the search button. In the search button, straight away you can type that service name. This is the way number two. This is how you can select the services that you want to use. So once again, I'll click on the home button, AWS icon logo. We'll go back to the AWS console. So there is another third method. The third method is the widgets. So here, as and when you start using these services, you will see a shortcut button that will be displayed over here in the console page. So you can also click on that EC2 or whatever the service that you have used previously, you can get into that service. So these are the three different ways you can access your services. Further, if we scroll down, you will see onto the right side, the trusted advisor, right? This is another feature available in AWS Management Console. What is this trusted advisor all about? AWS Trusted Advisor is a service that continuously analyzes your AWS account and provides recommendations to help you to follow AWS best practices. What is that AWS best practices? Let's say you have created your virtual machine, you have created few labs, and you did not delete that. You left it open. Maybe after some time, this trusted advisor will have a check on your account. It will check the resources that are not in use, and it will highlight here, action recommended. In my case, it is 0 because I did not leave any previous lab exercise unattended. I deleted all of them. Similarly, investigation recommend. any investigation, any resources, even though you have deleted the lab exercise, what you have created, some of the resources that you have added might have been left out, maybe like the storage device, or maybe the additional static IP address that you have attached. So these things will be chargeable service. So hence those details will be displayed here so that you can take a note of that. Further, you can take necessary actions. Further, we have this bell icon. Do you see that? The bell icon is the next item where you will see the notification alerts, such as if you have any open service tickets. What is an open service ticket? Let us say you have created a virtual machine and also you have deleted. However, for some reason, you are not able to delete that particular virtual machine or services. It is taxing, right? It is a chargeable service, right? You may not be paying from your pocket, but the free resource, the 750 hours of a free time, whatever has been provided to you by Amazon, it is getting deducted. So you can raise your issues, concerns here. Let us say, for instance, you have been billed maybe 400, 500 INR for some resources which you have not created. You can raise your concern. Maybe like, okay, I'm really sorry, I was not aware of it. Could you please give me a waiver? Or, yes, you have deleted all of them. There was some technical snag from Amazon side. The resources were not getting deleted. So how can you charge me? So we can interact with the customer care executive, get the issues resolved. So here we have open issues, any ticket that you have raised with the customer center that will be displayed, scheduled changes, any changes or the health status of your servers, those details will be available here. And also other notifications such as the technical, non-technical issues that are not resolved, those details will be available. Further, we have the support center, the question mark one, what you see here. This is the support center feature where you can get the technical and non-technical customer support. Okay, it could be even paid expert help through AWS. If you click on the support center, it will get into the support center menu. Okay, so here you can create a ticket. Do you see that? Create case, the orange color button. Yes, this is the place you will create a ticket to interact with the customer care. Okay, so here everything is predefined. You can select whether is the ticket that you're raising, is it account and billing related or technical related issues. If it is technical related issue, what is that technical related issue that you can start typing, and accordingly you can handpick that particular issue or the problem that you're facing to get that issue resolved from the customer pay. Okay, so this is all about the support center. Let's go back to our AWS Management Console homepage again. So next comes the extremely crucial feature of choosing the region. By now, we all know the regions, right? What are regions and availability zone? If you click on this tab, you will see the number of regions are available. On finger count, if you start counting, there are around 25 regions available. And each region has got between 3 to 6 independent data centers, also referred to as availability zones. So these availability zones are the place, the physical data center where we will be creating our virtual machines. Our data center will be hosted in that particular place or the location. So here we have few data centers. There are 7 regions that are not enabled for this account because these are either very new availability zones that are added up. Suppose you need to manually go ahead and enable it. Here we have the button Manage Regions. So we can manually enable these regions so that those regions also we can select to create our lab exercises. Let's just look into that. So here you can see Africa, Cape Town, Asia Pacific, Hong Kong, Asia Pacific again, Jakarta, Europe, we have Middle East, and yes, that's it. So we can click on enable, and by clicking on enable region, we'll be able to enable that particular region for us to use. Similarly, we can also disable the regions that we do not want to select. And also here, do you notice this? It became immediately global. What is this global? There are so many services. We will look into that, all those services in detail in the upcoming classes. There are few services which are tagged to availability zones. There are few services which are tagged to region, and there are few services that are tagged to global. What does that mean? The username, passwords, what you create, it is a global entity. It is not attached to a particular region or availability zone. You can also create, the way you have created the administrator account, you can create add-on accounts, maybe for your family members or for your colleagues in the corporate world. You will be the administrator, system administrator, and you are managing all those accounts, your team's account. You will be creating all their username and password. That is global entity. Once you create a username and password, that user can log into any of these regions and they can perform their daily activities. That is what means global. If it is region specific, that means a particular service that you have created that is available within that region. It cannot go outside that region. That means you create a virtual machine in North California, you will go to Asia Pacific, Mumbai. In that Mumbai region, your virtual machine what created in North California is not available. Similarly, we have availability zone specific. That means the services, whatever you have created, which is restricted only to that one particular availability zone. It will not be available in the next availability zone, though it is there within the same region. So last but not least, we have the user account tab. So this is another important feature to manage your user account settings, billing, managing your security credentials, creating new users, IAM addition, that is identity and access management, adding, deletion, all those things that we can perform here. So as the training progresses, we will learn all of these features in detail. So let's go back to our PPT. So this is all about the features of Management Console. Next, we have another important topic, introduction to web servers. Whatever the theoretical part that we are touching upon, we are going to perform the lab exercises in the next couple of minutes. So what is all about a web server? A server machine that manages web pages is called a web server. So every website sits on a computer, and it is this server that runs those web pages or websites. Today, we are going to create two virtual machines, one a Linux-based and another one a Windows-based virtual machine. That will be a simple virtual machine, but we'll be installing a piece of software into it. The moment we complete installation of that software, it becomes a web server. Okay, so that virtual machine will be capable of handling the website. We will be building a small website itself. A web server's primary goal is to store, process, and distribute online pages to users. The web server is always connected to the internet and has a unique address known as domain name. users can connect to this respective website by its domain name. For example, google.com, microsoft.com, yahoo.com. That is the domain name. Users can also connect to the respective website by its IP address, the public IP address. Friends, you remember in the previous lab exercise, we were picking up the IP address to log in. That is the same IP address we are referring to. You remember the same IP address, we typed it in the Google search bar, in the web address bar to open the web page, correct? The same thing. The biggest challenge of a web server is to serve many web users at the same time. Each of these users are requesting different pages at the same time. You will simply log into Google homepage. You will type google.com. You will see the Google page, the search bar where you will start searching and you will get your details, right? The person or the next family member in your home, he or she also will try to open Google, and that person is also getting connected. So two persons in the same building, same location, they have connected to the web page, but both of them accessing different web page. Possibly, both of them might have connected to the same web server. This web server has to provide different web page each and every user is accessing at the same time, correct? So that is what the biggest challenge of a web server. What is the challenge all about that we are talking? Imagine there are thousands of people, they log into one single web server. Let us take the example of Amazon.in, the online portal for our consumer purchase. Similarly, Flipkart. So how many persons will be logging into this website at every second? There will be tens and thousands of people they'll be logging in, right? So that web server should be able to cater, should be able to support, provide each and every web page information what the user is asking. If I'm logging into Amazon.in, I may be searching for iPhone. The next person may be searching for cameras. The another person may be searching for some clothing, correct? So each and every person is fetching different web pages. All this content, whatever you see on Amazon, lakhs together of products, all are stored in independent different web pages. So those pages has to be fetched and has to be provided to the user. And will a single server able to manage all this traffic? No, definitely not. Maybe a single web server, what we are creating today in the lab, may be able to provide support only for 500 people. So what happens to the remaining out of 10,000 people who logged in same time? The remaining 9,500 people has to be moved into another web server that has got all these web pages what the first person was searching. The first 500 people they were searching. Okay, all the web pages will be common in all these web servers. So how do we manage that? We manage that through a service, AWS service called load balancing. We will have multiple servers in the backend. There will be common IP address or common domain name like google.com. The moment you type the google.com, everyone is not getting connected to the same web server. In the backend, there are tens and thousands of web servers available city-wise, maybe district-wise. Okay, so we will get connected to the nearest data center or where the google.com is hosted, which is closest to our place. So that is how we will be able to fetch the web page. Remember, all of them will be able to get the same web page unless that particular country or location is blocked. So there are different programming languages, including PHP, Python, Java, and others are processed by a web server. So if you're accessing, if you are having iOS device or MacBook will be using a different programming language. They do not have the Google Chrome, correct? And maybe on Windows machine, I'm using Netscape, the old browser, or maybe I'm using Opera. So each and every browser will be using a different programming language to access. Same time, the web server should be able to understand all these languages. So who does all this backend job? There are many leading web servers. Some of the popular ones are IIS, Apache, Apache Tomcat. These are all some of the top end web servers are available. It is these web servers who understand the programming languages, what the user is using, which particular web browser he or she is using to access that website. So accordingly, it will understand and it will reciprocate. It will provide the information which is needed to the user. So let us try to understand this IIS, Apache Tomcat. What are they? Let us try to touch upon that. IIS is Internet Information Services. It is a high performance web server from Microsoft. Just give me one quick second, guys. I'm sorry for that. So this web server runs on Windows NT 2000 version, 2003, 2019, 2021, 22, and the later platforms. Because IIS is tightly integrated with Microsoft operating system, it is relatively much easier to administer. So any window-based web server will have IIS, that is Internet Information Service web server by default. Can we install Apache Tomcat onto it? Yes, of course you can do it. Okay, the next one is Apache. Apache is an open source and a free web server software that powers around 60% of websites around the world. You can see how popular Apache is. It can be installed on almost all the operating systems, including Linux, Unix, Windows, FreeBSD, Macintosh, and there are many other OS are available. So the official name of Apache is Apache HTTP Server. Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP stands for. It is maintained and developed by the Apache Software Foundation. So this intercommunication is done using the HTTP protocol. So it is this HTTP protocol that communicates between the web server and your web browser, maybe like Google Chrome. So whatever you type in Google Chrome may not be able to communicate in the same language with the Apache server or the IIS server, which is there in your in your virtual machine. Okay, so this protocol, which sits in between your web browser and the web domain, HTTP protocol, this will do that translation. It is just like our prime minister goes to the neighboring country, and of course, he will not be able to communicate with them with their language. When he visits Russia, China, definitely he will not be able to communicate. He will be talking in his native language, Hindi, and there will be a translator who will be translating that. Correct? So that is how this HTTP protocol also it works. So next, the last but not least in our today's web server topic is Apache Tomcat. In short, it is referred to as just Tomcat instead of saying Apache Tomcat. It is an open source, provides a pure Java-based HTTP web server environment in which Java code can run. It is maintained and developed once again by Apache Software Foundation. Please remember, Apache Software Foundation is a company. They own both these web servers, Apache as well as Apache Tomcat. Apache Tomcat is much higher end version of web server. It supports Java servlets, Java server pages, Java expression language, WebSocket technology, where you see the gaming high-end softwares, maybe even our stock market. All these web pages, websites are hosted using Apache Tomcat. So these are all just a tip of an iceberg. The basics of basics about the Apache of web servers. And let us perform a lab exercise to understand how it works. And before we move on, we were referring to in the previous slide, that is users can connect to respective websites by its domain name and also the public IP address, correct? Let us explore a little bit. Okay, so I have moved into my command prompt. There is a network command called ping. I'll type ping www.flipkart.com. So the moment I ping any website, for instance, I just took the example of Flipkart. So do you see the IP address? This is the IP address, public IP address of this website called Flipkart. So how to access this website? I'll come back to my Google Chrome. So here I will open a tab. I'll type flipkart.com. This is what in general we do, right? Yes, of course, it opened Flipkart web page. So I will open next another tab. Here I will type in the IP address that I got using the ping command. Let's see what happens. Here also it is opening, correct? That means any website that has got an IP address and the DNS name, domain name service name, google.com. Just now the Flipkart, what I opened, can we remember this IP address 163.53.76.86? No, right? It is difficult to remember. Even in our phone, we will store all our friends' contact numbers with their name attached. That name attached is like the DNS name, like google.com. Instead of google.com, you may store it. The google.com has got the IP address. In our mobile terminology, that particular username, your friend or contact name has got the phone number. This IP address is like the phone number of the website. Similarly, we will try with maybe another one. Here we have before we moving on, we were talking about web servers, right? Can we find out which web server the websites are having? I have taken the example of Wipro.com. Check the server OS. In their server, they are using Apache.com, Apache web server. Similarly, let's see Infosys. Infosys must be using Microsoft. They are having tie-up for a very long time. It says it cannot. Okay, Infosys.com. I'm sorry for that. Yes, of course, my guess is right. Infosys, they have hosted their Infosys.com web page in their web server. In that web server, they have Microsoft IIS 8.0 version. How about Microsoft? Let's see. It should be Microsoft IIS server once again, because it is their proprietary. Okay, Microsoft.com, they are using Akamai Technologies storage. This is a storage, but they are not revealing which operating system, which web server they are using, whether they are using IIS web server, Apache web server, because this Akamai Technologies, they are taking all the traffic of Microsoft website. They will divert it later to Microsoft so that the ransomware, virus, spyware, these kind of hacking thing will not happen. To protect their identity, Microsoft, they are diverting all their internet traffic through Microsoft. Let's check Google, google.com, which web server they are using. They are using Google's own web server. It is called GWS. So likewise, you can check any of these web pages, web servers, which web server they are using. Similarly, I was referring to the IP address, right? In command prompt, I typed the ping command. We will do it here itself. I will type google.com to find out the IP address of google.com. So this is the IP address of google.com, 142.251.40.206. I will not type google.com. I'll simply type the IP address of that web page, the web server. I got the web page of that server. Correct? This IP address, what we have typed now, is the public IP address. This public IP address is what we are creating while creating the virtual machine. So all this information, you can get it from this website called dnschecker.org. So this is the place where you'll get. There are several other types of lookout. You can do it. We can explore these things: reverse IP lookup, MX lookup, ping IPv6 address. There are two types of IP addresses: IPv4 and IPv6. What is my IP address? If I select this, my computer IP address will get. I'm using Reliance broadband connection, and Mozilla Firefox or Windows NT operating system is what is running. My base operating system in my laptop is Windows 10. Google Chrome is the browser what I'm using, and latitude, longitude, everything is available. And to the extent of this is the IPv6, this is my IP address of the computer where I have connected to the internet at this point of time. So there are many such tools are available. We can explore these tools in the upcoming classes. So let's move on to our learning once again. So this is all about the web servers. Let us get on to the lab part, the lab exercise. With this, we have reached almost at the end of the theoretical part of today's session. We will be having a detailed analysis of EC2 instance, a virtual machine, what we have created in the last class. The same virtual machine we are creating, but this time we will go in depth, in detail. We will touch upon each and every topic that is available, that is required for today's lab. We are performing two lab exercises. One will be for a Windows-based virtual machine, and another one is a Linux-based virtual machine. Okay, so this is what we are going to perform.